TWM podcast.
Hello, I'm Matty Deller, and this is Best of the Rest, your usual Friday, but this week, Sunday roundup of the odd men in your wrestling week. It's a new day for us, only just for this week, because of course we had the whole release stuff on Wednesday, so everything kind of got shoved about as we dissected that news. But we're here on a Sunday, we're still covering the usual stuff. It is me. I'll introduce my co-host in just a few minutes time, but first, this is the TWM podcast, bringing you content 6 and in this case 7 days a week on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, TuneIn, Podbean, YouTube, and wherever else you get your pods. We are brought to you by We Love Sport, a fantastic app that helps you find your nearest sports bar showcasing latest WWE pay-per-views. However, obviously, that's not really necessary at the current times, but please download that app because we'll be back to normal very, very soon. But they are doing some great content over on their social media at We Love Sport UK and at welovesport.co. We are helping them out, putting some stuff up on there as well. Wrestle Crate, go check them out. Their latest box has got AEW star Brody Lee, an item from him. And if you use the code TWM Wrestling, you can get up to 3 free items if you sign up for up to 3 months at wrestlecrate.co.uk. That's use the code TWM Wrestling at checkout at wrestlecrate.co.uk. Joining me this week, it is not Kimmy. Kimmy had some other stuff to do. She'll be back next Friday. So, being an erstwhile fill-in person is Kyle. Hello there, Kyle.
Oh, God. Once again, I'm here to fill in the gaps and review some oddities, shall we say that?
Some top-quality content. Hashtag top content. Yeah, you got some interesting ones. Obviously, this is your first dive into Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know how au fait you are with Total Bellas, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. I know you're aware of Impact. We're on the final show before the Special Rebellion, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes' time. So, let's have a little chat about that, shall we? So, we can talk about our Rebellion. We can talk about what Impact are going to be doing going forward, but we need to talk about an absolute show stealer of a man, and that man is Mike Jackson. He wrestled Johnny Swinger. Swinger promised a young buck called M. Jackson to come and wrestle him. It turned out to be 70-year-old Mike Jackson, and my God, Kyle, he was fucking amazing.
From what I was actually paying attention to, I want to know where they found this guy.
I just sign this man and put him in the X Division now. Like, generally, he was a 70-year-old man banging out dives, arm drags, doing a rope walk around the entire ring. Like, did the full walk around the entire ring.
Can I suggest to you, how good would that be if he rocked up a PWG for Bowler or something?
Our best of the Super Juniors. Put him in all the tournaments. This is what we want. When tournaments come back, I want him in all of the tournaments. Whack him in the interim NXT Cruiserweight title tournament. Just put him in there now. Because he was amazing. Like, genuinely, that match was about 10 times better than it had any right to be. I would just like Johnny Swinger to wrestle the elderly from now on.
Out of context, that would sound so weird.
Yeah, please don't clip that. Maybe that should be a division in a promotion. Like an over 50s, a veterans division.
This is not X Factor. You don't have to be like 16 to 24s the groups or the tag teams, and then the over 25s, or in this case, the over 60s.
Yeah, the 50 plus live. We can have Wagner be the GM. It'd be banging. Mike Jackson can be the ace.
Well, I'm gonna say, if you were looking for Brazilian talent, then Wagner is definitely an improvement over certain people who have been in companies. But
he also done some wrestling. This is true. Google it. He has done a wrestle in the last few years, has Wagner. Yeah, but fair play to a 70-year-old man coming from out of nowhere. They said, I think I read on Twitter, this is the first time he'd been on TV since 1991. And he comes in and has an absolute banger of a 5-minute match with Johnny Swinger. Brilliant.
Has he been wrestling since 91 now?
No, I think he's been wrestling well before then. He's 70 years old, man. So I imagine he's been around for a bit.
No, I mean, has he wrestled in between, just no one's known of it?
I would imagine so. If he's that good, I would imagine that he's still wrestling, or at least semi-wrestling. So,
because we've seen it before. It's just when older guys they've got the wear and tear and stuff they can't do, but stuff that they used to be able to. This was all that and more.
Yeah, it was one of those things of when you see when Johnny Saint used to come out and wrestle for Shikara every now and again. And I've seen it with Johnny Kidd when he wrestled at Seoul. Like I think one of the last shows I went to before everything kind of shut down was like they wrestle only semi-occasionally, but it's like but they do like a lot of mat wrestling. It's not a lot of like jumping off. That man did a dive and nearly landed on his head, but managed to stop himself. It was incredible.
That's quite fair. The most aerial person you'll find who is over like a certain age now, I don't actually know how old he is, but like just older than a lot of the current breed of wrestlers would be Jody Fleisch on these shows. Yeah,
like we do have Liger, but he kind of stopped. And I guess LA Park. Can we have LA Park versus Mike Jackson, please? That would be the best of matches. We did also get Madison Rayne hitting the burn of the century, because we've been having Madison Rayne and Josh Matthews. They're not alluding to it on commentary that they're married, but they are married.
Genuinely, I was watching it and I was just like, oh, Madison's on commentary with Josh. Is he in the doghouse?
And I did like this when they're talking about wrestling, and then Madison Rayne just turns around and goes, remember when you lost a reality show and never wrestled again? Just needlessly mean.
Did you hear Josh's rebuttal, though? Like, when he's like, we're not here to talk about my wrestling career, I was like, well, okay, man.
You wrestled like 3 times and then never wrestled again. But yeah, that was brilliant. And the match was brilliant. I generally just go and watch this bit. It was really, really good. We now go from the show beginning to the show ending, as the show ended with the contract signing between Sammy and Ken Shamrock. Callahan cut a really good promo, as we expected. He goes for Ken's family. Ken snaps, enters the zone, but he disappears, and we get manned games as like loads of Sammy's followers appear. It's not exactly boneyard match. It was a bunch of people in hoodies with paper masks over their face, but it was
Dr. Cube.
It was Dr. Cube. Oh, imagine if Dr. Cube was like the higher power of Sammy Callahan. That'd be amazing.
I'm dream booking it right now as we speak.
We want Dr. Cube.
This is what you would only find on like TE Dub.
Dr. Cube, Dr. Cube, Dr. Cube. Also, Ken Shamrock runs like a dad. You know, just that dad run where they're not really going any faster than if they were just normally walking.
It's Fat School Sports Day run.
Yeah.
Like when you get all the parents like lined up and it's like, okay, now it's time for like the mum and dad like egg and spoon race, just because they have to take part.
Here's the big question: who would win in a school day sports race?
Yeah.
Mike Jackson or Ken Shamrock?
Mike Jackson would have the advantage, but then Ken Shamrock would get angry about the fact he's losing and just push him over and run to the end.
Or would he lock him in an ankle lock?
No, because then that would divert time and you'd get someone like Rob Van Dam who would actually just like take forward. Because they wouldn't be paying attention.
Let's set up the Impact Wrestling Dad Sports Day race. So we've got Mike Jackson, we've got Ken Shamrock, we've got Johnny Swinger, we've got Rob Van Dam. We're not sure whose dad he is, but he's just there. Who else can be in the dad's race? Don Callis. He's a dad. Who else could be in the dad's race?
I don't know. Who else has kids in Impact? I don't really pay that much attention.
No, I'm thinking of who's slightly
Garma Singh.
Yeah, Garma Singh. Garma Singh will be in. Garma Singh will come last.
Garma Singh will come last and blame it on Rohit Ranju.
Yeah. So that one, I still think it would probably be Mike Jackson, but Ken Shamrock's the dad that ends up like go sit in the car after.
No, he'd push over a toddler and get put in the car. It's like, go think about what you've done.
There we go. Now we've fantasy booked the Impact Sports Day episode. We also see a 4-way tag match as TJP and Bar go over Reno Scum, Triple XL, and the Rascals. It was weird that this is the first match the Triple XL have had as a team, and they didn't win. So
if it wasn't for team and they were trying to push the Phil Am connection to be against the North, then I would completely agree with you. If it had just been Triple XL versus another team, then that would have been fine.
It was just weird.
Yeah. But when you've got a team who is so like already in contention and it's just like still trying to be in that spot.
Yeah, I get your point, but it just seemed strange to me. Also, I love you calling
these could have been 2 separate tag team matches.
You call them the Phil-Am Connection when both of them are Filipino, so there should be the Phil Collection.
DJP is also American.
He is also American, but I think they based this off the They're doing the whole Filipino thing where they're walking around giving everyone food.
Hang on, I am going to look at
Which
Instagram.
It is true. He is Filipino and American, but
I'm sure that they've posted something about it though, because I still follow the Impact socials. I am going to look for this.
But he's they're doing the whole gimmick of them giving out food to everyone, which is an accurate stereotype. Because when I said this before on a previous podcast, I had a girlfriend previously that was Filipino, and every time I went to her house, her mum would literally make me leave with 3 trays of food every time. It was brilliant. I had so much fried chicken.
That's being a good host.
Yeah, but Filipino and particularly I think South Asian, they go next level on not only here is food while you're here, I'm going to give you trays of food to take home.
Nice.
It was tremendous. Trey defeated Willie Mack, and yeah, Trey lost to Ace Austin. Trey defended Willie Mack against Ace Austin, but then Ace brought up his mum, and both of these are just the Rascals deserve better Exhibit A and B. So
I like how we're still at that point where your mum jokes are great, because Ace Austin can bring up Trey's mother and it's just like, hey, remember that time? And then Trey just loses it.
Yeah, I tried to bang your mum. Oh, bang.
They've got years of gold through this. There could be any amount of X Division stars coming through, and you could always just revisit and be like, hey, guess what, Trey? Ace tried to bang your mum once. Yeah.
We see for the first time in forever RVD and Katie Forbes, and they talk about not wanting to be there between toxic masculinity and foreign substances. And I just remembered back when RVD was the best thing on this show, and this cancel culture thing is just not worked at all. They've just not lent into it. They had Joey Ryan doing bits and bobs. They've given him a whole new gimmick. He's been on TV twice, he's wrestled 3 times, lost twice with this gimmick. And yeah, it's not working for me.
It's a shame, because me and you have talked about how much we love Rob Van Dam just being
midlife crisis,
the eternal midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And Joey Ryan would have been the perfect stag party guy for him.
It would be brilliant. They could have had them as they could have had Joey Ryan as heel, and they could have they should have had Joey Ryan bang Katie Forbes' girlfriend, or RVD's girlfriend's girlfriend, and then have them be some sort of weird sex festival. They could call them the sex festival.
It would have been the opposite of right to censor. Let's be real.
And they've run it
right to uncensor.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work at all. Rohit Raju gets murked by Hernandez because reasons. Locker room. They had this thing called locker room talk. I'm not gonna lie, I stopped paying attention. Kylie Ray was there, and she was very, very happy. Kira Hogan turned up. They built their match at Rebellion. We got some QPW footage, but I didn't see Tom, so therefore I think this was either he lied or they're lying. Cause,
it's a shame.
It was Eddie Edwards versus Michael Elgin. It was just a fill time, to be honest. Then we get the strange case of... I always rag on Tenille Dashwood on these shows because I fail to see the point of Tenille Dashwood at this point. Mainly because her gimmick is it's all about me, but she insists on being a face.
Yeah, she charges for selfies. There's no way she's a fucking face.
Yeah, you should be a heel. This is like Brit. This is like Beta Britt Baker, as in you should have been a heel from day one when you came here.
Matty, Britt Baker.
Yeah, she's Britt Baker, is Tenille Dashwood. Well done, thank you for that. You saved me. She lost to Taya, but then Taya literally killed her with a chair for about a month, and even to the point where Josh Matthews was like, "Why is no one saving her?" And eventually Jordan Grace came out and helped her. And they've brought her back and they've just killed her off again. All the shine has come off Tenille Dashwood massively. She's now just a wrestler, so I don't see her as a marquee talent at all anymore.
It's because they haven't given her the spotlight that she kind of needed coming in, because they built around her and then did nothing with her.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the weird thing. They kind of brought her as a big deal, and then immediately went, "No, we changed our mind." It's strange.
Highlight of the segment, though, let's be honest, Jordan Grace hitting Taya so hard, and then Johnny Swinger so hard with the kendo stick that it just broke.
She broke the kendo stick over Johnny Bravo's face. It was brilliant. The last thing to note is Impact doing some nice things. I want to give them some love for this because I think this is lovely. First of all, they were meant to have a lockdown Impact Plus event. Obviously got cancelled due to the ongoing issues. and the guy that runs the venue they were doing it in, Impact paid him in full, as if the event had happened.
Oh,
which is a lovely sentiment, especially in these times. And also, they're doing the right thing in regards, because there are some companies that are still running a pay-per-view with no fans and still charging pay-per-view money for it. Not naming any names, AEW, but they've done the right thing. They've obviously blocked. We said a couple of weeks ago they'd block taped a bunch of stuff in Nashville. They've done the same for Rebellion, but are they charging for it? Nope. They're putting it on access for 2 weeks as like a special event rather than put it on pay-per-view, which is a good move, even though Josh Matthews openly nicked the "it's too big for just one night" line from WrestleMania, which was amusing.
Oh my god.
TWM podcasts are brought to you by We Love Sport, the fantastic app finding you your nearest sports bar showing the latest WWE pay-per-views. We Love Sport has over 400 of the best sports bars and pubs in the UK at your fingertips and allows you to book front row seats, giving you the best views of the action. You can also check out what sports are being shown over the next 7 days, making sure you don't miss a second of the action. Download the We Love Sport app on the App Store or Google Play Store. Follow We Love Sport on all social media platforms at We Love Sport UK and check out welovesport.co.
Dark Side of the Ring, episode 5? 5. Yeah, 5. And you've come in because you've not actually watched a lot of these, if any, of the Dark Side of the Ring documentaries.
None at all, but now I want to.
But you came in at the deep end, because last week, we had the Brawl for All, and it was a laugh, and before that week we had New Jack, and that was a bit wild, and then you come in to Jimmy Snuka and the murder of Nancy Argentino, which is a rough subject. There's not really a lot to touch on, because it's basically a documentary where you count all the red flags in the relationship between Jimmy Snuka and Nancy. Pretty much.
Well, from the beginning of this whole episode, let's just say there were more red flags here than there were at a beach festival.
Yeah, you go through all of them. He isolated himself and didn't want to associate with the family. Red flag. Buddy Rogers washed his hands of him as his handler because he was hooked on cocaine. Red flag. During a family dinner, Snuka feigned to choke Nancy's sister, saying, "I could." That's a humongous red flag. And then the biggest one of all, he technically was still with his family and kids. The biggest red flag.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was like going through any of their minds at this time.
Yeah, and they basically go through all the build-up to... It's basically like 15 minutes on discussing the relationship between Jimmy Snuka and Nancy Argentino. They then talk about an incident where Jimmy Snuka was fighting cops and police dogs. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. It's what we learn from this episode as well. He was hooked to all of this. And then they go to the incident where Nancy got hurt and led to her dying and stuff. First of all, let's go through the first excuse he used, or first reason he used. We were wrestling too much. And my first thought was just like, you can't use the excuse that when you hurt your siblings when you're playing WWE in the front room as like a one for hurting or potentially killing your significant other. And did you count how many stories he made up at that point? It was a good, at least 5. At least 5 different alibis he had at one point.
No, there were a lot of it. And, like, if you notice, like, the amount of people that, like, apparently the amount of people that he helped, there was a different, like, story for, like, each of them. Not even he was, like, keeping track of, like, what he was. Like, it's not, like, where you pay attention to, like, oh, I've said this to one person. If someone else asks them, this is how it goes. Like, every single person he told a different story to.
It was mad. And then it basically, you hear about all this, and then it basically leaned on the Vince trying to cover it up, allegedly, possibly, because he tried to pay the family off, and they told him to do one. They went to it didn't go through court because there was literally no evidence to say that Jimmy had anything to do with it. Well, it looked like that anyway. And they did an out of court settlement of $500,000 that he didn't pay, so they got nothing for it, which is just unbelievable. The original police investigation was absolutely awful, and then they talk about how Vince had a meeting with the police authority in Allentown, and then all of a sudden the whole case fell apart. That's a pretty big coincidence, isn't it, Kyle?
We've discussed this before, like a lot of us, like off any podcast, and we've all like had a feeling that Vince seems too involved in it, like from the get-go.
It's one of these things. It's another off-podcast conversation. I believe me and Mike had. It might have been for a Rev Pro show. Me and Mike were sat in a public house, and we were just having a chat. And we get onto the point of like big wrestlers passing away and what would happen. And I said that, and it's a weird comparison, so stick with me here, that Vince McMahon passing away would be very similar to when Jimmy Savile passed away, as in a lot of mad stuff is going to come out. Now, I'm not saying that they're one and the same. However, I've got a feeling that a lot of stuff that could get him in a lot of trouble in life will come out in death. But I feel like this has really hammered home the fact that allegedly this really looks like he paid off the police to cover up this crime, because Jimmy Snuka was one of his top guys, and the last thing he wanted at the current time during this boom was one of his top guys going down for murder.
We've seen it. It looks like blood money, like that's just been paid off for the sake of, oh, I need this guy because he's a draw.
Yeah.
If that happened in this day and age, fuck no, you go straight to jail. It doesn't matter what you're on.
Or, allegedly paying a bunch of money to a state government so your frivolous wrestling company can continue working. Kind of the same thing. This was... I said there's not a lot really to dissect on this. This is a very cut and dry episode. Like we said last week, was probably the least interesting episode. This was a fascinating one, but it's very cut and dry. It is a lot of bad stuff happened in this toxic relationship between Jimmy Snuka and Nancy Argentino. Several incidents happened where she should have been removed from the situation, and unfortunately she was not. And then when it got to its apex, certain people covered the whole thing up, and literally it looks like Jimmy Snuka allegedly got away with murder here, and it's rough. It's very, very rough. This is literally the dark side of the ring. What are your kind of overall thoughts with fresh eyes on this?
It's one of those things. I've said to you, like, as I was watching it, it seems like one of those documentaries, like what you would see on True TV in the UK, where it seems like they've put, like, all of the horrendous stuff, like Fear Thy Neighbour, like, all these things where you just hear about, like, really twisted shit happening in your neighbourhood, like, next door to you.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, one of those recollection things. But because, like, it was so high profile, and because he's now passed away, there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas a lot of the cases on a lot of other things like this, you hear, oh, they got arrested, or it ended in, well, like, unfortunate or untimely death for one of the parties in the whole thing.
Like the Benoit thing, there was some form of resolution to it in a way.
This has no ending. It just feels like it's still up in the air, and you're not going to get an ending.
Look at the situation. It went back to court 35 years later.
They'd even said, though, like, the family have said that they've not had closure. Yeah.
And it went back to court 35 years later, at a point where Jimmy Snuka had no idea where he was not mentally fit to stand trial. It's mad. It is absolutely mad. It's a really, like, if you're into kind of this true crime stuff, this is definitely something to watch. Next week, they're keeping it light. It's the assassination of Dino Bravo. But I'm fascinated by it because I don't know a lot about that. I've heard bits and bobs. Wrestle Me, I've spoken about it a little bit. But I want to hear about this because apparently it's a very, very another interesting true crime story. But yeah, like it's a rough watch. It's not for the kind of the faint at heart. There are some trigger warnings in there, of course, like with the toxic relationship and of course the eventual death and stuff. But yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. Another fantastic documentary.
TWM podcasts have joined forces with WrestleCrate, the original and best monthly theme, monthly wrestling subscription service to bring you a fantastic deal. If you use the code TWM Wrestling when you sign up to a monthly subscription at WrestleCrate.co.uk, you will receive a free item in your first month's box. Then, if you stay for another month, you'll get a second free item. And then, if you stay for a third month, you guessed it, we'll give you a third free item. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. WrestleCrate brings you the best swag from the biggest companies and names in the wrestling world. We're talking t-shirts, photos, pins, DVDs, vinyl figures, and loads more from WWE, Progress, Shakara, NXT, Fight Club Pro, and loads more. That's WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the code TWM Wrestling for up to free items, all thanks to WrestleCrate and TWM.
Episode 3 of Total Bellas Season 5. I don't know how much Total Bellas have you watched in your lifetime?
After this, not enough.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It's so good. WWE are amazing at crappy reality TV. It's glorious.
I've got to say, though, I prefer Total Divas because it's a lot more... It feels more action-packed because everyone's got their own stories. This just follows the Bellas. This
is a lot more... reality TV show rather than WWE. Like,
does Kardashians?
Yeah, this is Kardashians, whereas like Total Divas.
I thought Total Divas was a bit more Kardashians because you've got like all having like things where like Kim does her own stuff, the Jenners do their own stuff, Chloe's got her own stuff.
But it's all based around I would say that this has a narrative where it's based around a very dramatic situation, whereas Total Divas has a lot more. I love us going like this, doing a narrative analysis of these shows. Whereas Total Divas is a lot more like Real Housewives. It's kind of like there's some comedy, there's more variety in it. Whereas the Kardashians, they do focus a lot more on the drama, and this has a lot more drama in it. We get a recap of all the drama last week and more Nikki and Artem stuff. I only refer to him as Artem. The Bella family decided to go and do some aerial yoga. I did not think this is how the show would begin. Also,
no, it's a bit of an oddity.
Also, I think that JJ might have ADHD because he just said he can't sit still. He literally is like, I can't sit still for more than 3 minutes. I have to get up. And he
maybe he's just like me, and he gets bored like pretty easily doing any menial stuff.
He did do a you thing, which is he literally pieced out of doing it to go to the bar. So, #lad. They discuss their grandparents and talk to Mommy Bella about looking after Birdie as they go to Mexicali, which we discovered last week what Mexicali was. They break it to their mum, and she is not happy. They argue, and the twins just bullshit around the fact that they are using their mum to go as a babysitter to go see their dad. Like all parents do.
It just sucks the fact that they just like couldn't be like upfront with her though.
Yeah,
it's like we've got ulterior motives. We're not going to tell you.
We go to the eventually we'll discuss like who's the heel in this situation, but we'll get to that later. The Bella twins go mental with the gifts, and then Artem hits the nail on the head again because he's actually the voice of reason. He's the conscience of the Bellas in this season. I don't think they've got Brian a lot. That she's doing this because she's bricking herself about all of this stuff. Brie and Nikki end up in Burley in Carolina where they grew up, and they mug each other off about high school, about pissing themselves, so on and so forth. And then they randomly bump into their old babysitter who was literally sitting across the street in some sort of in some broken down house, and then she turns around and says Nikki looks heavier on TV, which was fucking savage.
No, it's like I related because, as we have established on a past podcast, Matthew, I have been on television shows and many things, and the camera does add £10. Well, that might have just been the fact that I was a teenager and still had baby weight.
Yes, remember, Britain's Got Talent star Kyle James. I don't know why we don't have that. It should be on your bio on the website. It really should.
Oh, fucking hell.
They go
lost to a dog in 2012.
You lost to a dog, You lost to a dog. You're going to have that now every time I see you.
Oh, God, if we're ever allowed outside again.
They go past all the places where the Bellas grew up, and Mummy Bella has a lot of bad memories, all this. And we go off to Nana's house, and I've realised this, no matter how big or how small, how rich or how poor, a Nan's house is always going to look like a Nan's house.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I looked at that and I went, this is very much a nan's house. There's a lot of random things that don't need to be there. There's a lot of shelving. The sofas are in a horseshoe formation.
I guarantee you she's got a drawer that you open and it's just got a load of just like random crap.
I guarantee that somewhere in that house there is a sugary biscuit tin that you open and it's full of sewing utensils.
God, oh my God. No, I've just realised how relatable that is to
it is. Everyone has
my own nan, which is so weird.
Also, there'll be a cupboard under the stairs that also has a load of carrier bags in it with just random stuff, and then also toys that are legitimately about 40 years old that are just there for whatever children turn up.
Will it be a bowl with like a decorative bowl which doesn't ever have anything in it? It's just there to look pretty.
Yes, that as well. Also, Artem and Nikki can't share a room, which is a classic nan rule. If you're not married, you don't share a bed. She also demands that Artem cooks. Typical nan, assuming the foreign guy's to help.
Oh, God.
We found out what Mexicali is last week. We didn't know it was a thing. They're in Mexicali, and apparently Daddy Bella's done well for himself. He's got a lovely house. The stepmom is a year older than the Bellas, and they discuss how nice her tits and her ass are. And the dad calls them triplets, which is weird. But I love that their dad is typical midlife crisis dad. It's like he's done a Vince McMahon. He is married someone the same age as his children.
I thought it was suddenly going to turn into a Trump thing, and he just goes on about fucking his own daughters.
He didn't go that bad, but I did love. He's like, my wife is 15 years younger than me. Back of the net.
Proper lad.
Artem doesn't take father-in-law, mother-in-law bants as a joke because the dad talks about them being mother-in-law, father-in-law. No, this is serious business. So he's taking this very seriously, this relationship with Nicole. They discuss kids, and then salut. They then discuss JJ, and Dad talks about being a changed man. He doesn't want to talk about the past. And they bring up the book. Here we go. Here is the controversy in the episode, but it just dies off because he goes, "Yep, it's not time to." He just goes, "That's great. We don't talk about that." And he goes, "It's not time to bring up the book." So,
imagine that, all that build, and then it's like long.
Yeah.
This is just how I felt going into WrestleMania.
It was the whole thing. The whole talking about the book, which I think we all want to read. We all want to read the Bella biography. I so want to read that book. But they've got a lot of stuff about their rough childhood, and they're worried. They brought it up to their mum. Their mum didn't like it. They bring it up to Dad, and the Dad doesn't want to talk about it. So it's going well.
You just want to know, like, because they're like, oh, we want to put this in there. I want to know what's in the final edit now, because it feels like fucking nothing.
It's just going to be about their WWE rights. It could basically be their cage match profile in a book.
Oh God, which means that we'll end up talking about it on that World Wrestling.
Yeah, on the Wrestling World Report. They go into a Mexican candy shop, and Mexican candy shop montage! Woo! And then they, in air quotes, bump into their dad and the kids. They meet Ezekiel for the first time and decide to let it go, and everything is incredibly Mexican. Speaking of which, Spanish guitars and burritos.
I've been to a taco festival. That sounds too relatable.
That sounds like a place that would not be your normal market, a taco festival, but here we are. There's another joke in my head, but I'm leaving it. It's too obvious. Something Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh God, Beer Calla.
They give gifts, and I think they misunderstand how old Alexia is. She's 11. They try and give her Barbie dolls, and she's like, "Oh no, this doesn't work at all." They bring up that the kids are bullying Alexia because they refuse to believe that her sisters are the Bella twins. Basically, this is the plot of My Dad is a Heel Wrestler. When no one believes that his dad's a wrestler.
Could you just imagine though, like being like in that situation, just having like famous relatives, and then all of a sudden it's just like, no, you don't. and then as we see later on, like literally 5 minutes left in the episode, it's like, oh wait, yeah, you do. Here they are.
Yeah, murked.
I wish I could have been in that position. It's just going to be like, you'd be the coolest kid for like forever.
The dad offers for them to go to the school. Bree can't because she's got to go back to her child, so Nicole says she will. But Mommy Bella's still pissed, saying, I didn't come here to be a babysitter. And I was just like, she's not. Bree's literally coming back to get the child. For fuck's sake. Like, you had no reason to get that upset about that. And for me, this just feels like the Bellas are trying to like keep everyone happy, and the mum is just flat out refusing to play ball. But she does have a valid reason, in all fairness.
It feels like very much parental, as just like, all right, if you want to spend time with like the other parent, then I'm not here for it. It's very much like divorce meaning.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They then go to the school. Ezekiel comes and says hey, but he doesn't give a shit because he's 4 years old. He's like, hi, I'm going to go play now. Can you guys leave? It's so amazing. Also, did you notice one thing in particular about all the people that were lined up to see Nikki Bella when she came to the school?
Are you just on about the fact that it's like 11-year-old boys?
It was all boys. No girls were there. All the boys were like, oh my god, it's Nikki Bella, which is the funniest thing. The look on their face when Nikki turns up, and then when she's like, my sister, and they're like, oh my god, she wasn't lying, which is funny.
But she's threatened children, not to their faces, but in her confessional, she's like, pick up my sister and I will body slam you myself.
Yeah.
She has just threatened minors.
Meanwhile, they go and walk in a field after this, and they start talking about it a little bit, and then the mum immediately just disregards it in a real dick passive-aggressive move. She's like, oh, that's great, yeah, whatever. I don't think the Bellas have every right to be annoyed. There was no, like, she could have been like, just been like, oh, that's really nice. Like, obviously I have my own problems, but like, she could have been like, I'm happy that you guys enjoyed it, but
She does that whole passive aggressive thing.
Yeah, and like,
I wonder how many group chats she's left.
But it's called doing a Kyle. The Bellas are,
by example,
the Bellas are rightfully annoyed. I think there's no need to be a dick about this. And then what makes me laugh is that Artem and Birdie walk literally into a cornfield to get away from the situation. Like, let's just walk in this field. We don't know where it goes, but we'll go in there for a bit.
This is how Wizard of Oz begins, let's be real.
The mum then basically goes, embrace who you are, but don't ever tell me about it. And she's going on about, you never give me any props. They do! Literally all the time they tell you how amazing you are that you've raised them on your own. And basically...
Oh, God. Sorry, it's like... No, I love it how she's, like, apologising for what they are doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, sorry for letting you embrace your heritage.
Like, basically, she wants to get put over, which I imagine they've done for the entirety of their life, up until the last 3 weeks.
Friends with?
Who?
George Mazanin.
It's like, all she wants is to be put over and made a big deal. And I think the mum's in the wrong here. I know she obviously has a problem. She had a really, really rough marriage to this guy. But they're not exactly turning around and going, well, you were shit and Dad's brilliant. They're going, no, like, Dad's changed. We want to make an effort. We're adults now. And they often even say, we don't expect you to come and talk to him. We're going to go talk to him. And she's like, no, tell me how great I am and ignore your dad. And it's like...
I feel like she's at the point, like, where she's not allowing... well, things to move on.
Yeah.
Because she's still stuck in the old mentality of it. So they're like, oh, we want to, like, see our dad because he's changed as a person. And it's like, then it's like, oh, okay. They get back from, it's like, basically Sunday dinner at their dad's, let's say. And it's like, hi, how was it? Oh, it was great. Don't tell me.
Yeah. All she wants...
If they want things their way or not.
It's one of those things, it seems like that Mummy Bella only wants it if it's like, oh, it's horrible, he spat at us, he set Birdie on fire. It's like it's all she wants to know. When she's like, oh no, it was nice, like she's like, I don't want to know. Don't ask. Like,
Mother Bella is here for the Schadenfreude, and I don't mean...
Yeah, it's just... But like, I think her intentions are right because she went through a lot, and I understand that. I empathise with that. But at the same time, she's
handling it wrong.
She's handling it wrong. Rather than just going, that's nice, and then just leaving it there. Like, she's like, I don't want you talking about it for the whole journey.
She's the one originally who was like, oh, I've got no problem with it. But now that they're enjoying it, she's got a major fucking problem with it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So we get a family meeting, and JJ, who doesn't like their dad, says it's not their mum's fault. And then Nikki talks about her childhood leading to a commitment fear, which is actually incredibly valid point that's not been made. Kathy busts out the notes like all good mums do when they're having an argument. They write down their problems and then read it out loud.
Is it just me who thought that when she was doing this role, it was just, I'm going to write all these things in a letter, like I hate about you, and then never send it? You're not meant to read it or send it.
Nikki, you're a Belland.
No, she's a Bella.
She apologises for all the stuff that she said and owns up. and they all discuss being children of divorce, and they hope that Mummy Bella can let it go. And they seem to patch things up. However, next week, Brie and Brian have security issues, and Nikki and JJ kick off.
Can't wait for the next episode of Total Bell Ends. I mean Bella's.
No, that's the episode we're doing now. This is Total Bell Ends. But yeah, that's best of the rest for this week. So next week, we've got an exciting episode of Total Bellas. We've got the Dino Bravo episode of Dark Side of the Ring and part 1 of Impact Rebellion. So it's going to be a packed episode. Make sure you stick around for that. It'll be back on Friday. It'll be back on Friday as the normal time is. Thank you very much for being patient and enjoying the extra content that came out this week. TWM Wrestle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to us on Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Acast, Podbean, YouTube. On TWM.news, we've got loads of stuff, reviews, interviews, loads of fun stuff all coming up. We've got loads of more fun stuff coming up in the future as well. We Love Sport. Go over there, We Love Sport UK, We Love Sport.co, WrestleCrate, use the code TWM Wrestling to get up to 3 free items in your first 3 boxes when you sign up for a monthly subscription at WrestleCrate.co.uk. Britain's Got Talent star, Kyle, what's your social media?
Your boy _KJ. Try and find that when you're on like these quarantine days.
We need to get you verified. You've been on TV. Have you tried?
Yeah, but
have you tried applying to be verified?
If I applied for that, then that would give me more of an ego boost than I already don't need.
I think we do. Hashtag get Carl verified. Let's get involved. I've tried. I did legitimately send an email to ask him I could be verified.
Good. I feel like we need to get the TWM account verified, but nothing else.
Just get all of ourselves verified.
We're not that deserving.
Can we try and get someone from TWM that is not aware? Can we get Mike verified, the person who checks his Twitter the least?
I was going to say, if anyone does check their Twitter the least, it would be Mike. I mean, we've got Shirley in the know a lot. We need to get like Shirley verified.
Yeah, let's get all of ourselves verified.
Or when Victoria comes back on Twitter.
Yeah. Anyway, we're all off to get ourselves verified. So we'll speak to you guys next Friday.